Ray Brown's Talkin' Birds.
Made possible by the generous support of the Birdwatchers General Store, Orleans, Cape Cod. Birdwatchersgeneralstore.com.
By Vortex Optics with the VIP warranty. Their unlimited lifetime promise to keep you and your optic covered. Learn more at vortexoptics.com.
And Beautyo Books, an independent family-owned bookstore carrying one of the largest selections of birding books in the world. Beautyobooks.com.
Good morning. Welcome to our show number 857. We'll start off with a couple of international stories this morning. First from New Zealand. New Zealand, where the votes are in, and the New Zealand Bird of the Year has been chosen. The winner is the Peka Peka Taurua. But its victory is controversial, and for a very understandable reason. It's because the Peka Peka Taurua is not a bird. It's a bat. It's the long-tailed bat, to be specific, and it defeated more than 70 bird species in the vote. Some bird lovers, though, have demanded a recount. The goal of the vote was to raise awareness of the country's native species that are under threat, and the long-tailed bat is one of them. So congratulations to the Peka Peka Taurua, New Zealand's Bird of the Year. And thanks to our friend Jeff Collins for first alerting us to the story. Thank you, Jeff. Meanwhile, farther north, what's going on with European bird migration? Well, according to researchers at Durham University in the UK, climate change might make winter bird migration a thing of the past. They found that some species of migratory birds are spending as much as 2 months less time per year than they used to in their African wintering grounds. The big drop in time spent on non-breeding territory suggests that these birds are able to survive later in the season up in their European breeding grounds than before, making experts wonder whether some birds may eventually give up their long-distance migration routines. Quite a change, and just another example that climate change effects are not something we might experience in the future. They are happening right now. We want to give a shout out to members of the Talkin' Birds Flock Facebook group who are posting some wonderful stuff worth seeing. For example, photos shared by Elizabeth Hughes and Vincent Praploenis and Elise Torello and other flock members. Some really cool images of common raven, black-billed and yellow-billed cuckoo, blue-winged and palm warbler, and a 33-pound Andean condor. Pretty spectacular photos there. The Talkin' Birds Flock is exclusively for Talkin' Birds listeners. You can check it out and join it if you like by typing in Talkin' Birds Flock at facebook.com. That would be the sound of our mystery bird, and this would be a preview of our contest coming along in just a little bit. Here are some clues. It's a medium-sized sparrow-like bird with a short, thick, pointed bill, white outer tail feathers, and streaked sides. The breeding male sports a black face and chest and a rust-colored nape. The back of the neck. In winter, the bird retains its face pattern, but without those blocks of color, becoming mostly pale brown and streaked. Part of its common name comes from its unusually long hind claw. Our bird, which breeds in the Arctic tundra, winters in open fields across much of the U.S. and Canada, feeding by foraging on the ground for seeds. During breeding season, they also eat insects and other invertebrates. That's our mystery bird. Prizes include the Droll Yankees Chickadee Feeder, the Cute Chickadee Feeder. That's the name of it, the Cute Chickadee Feeder. Lets you manage the size of visiting birds with its height-adjustable dome, and its dish is perfect for sunflower seed, mixed seed, fruit, or mealworms. Our other prize is a $15 gift certificate to Beautyo Books, home of one of the largest selections of bird and nature books in the world. So we're happy to have those beautiful prizes, and if we get to our bonus question, we'll also give away, or try to, a $20 certificate to Wisdom Supply Company, makers of those eco-friendly and bird-friendly products for home and office. So our mystery bird contest coming along just a little bit later on in this morning's show. A couple of weeks ago, we offered a conservation salute to Ford Motor Company for their commitment to clean energy electric vehicles and their plan to spend $11.4 billion on vehicle and battery plants in Tennessee and Kentucky. Well, today we salute another big company pledging that same amount to build 2 U.S. battery factories. The company is Stellantis. That's the new parent company of Dodge, Chrysler, Jeep, and other car makers. Start of production scheduled for early 2024. One caveat is that while Stellantis says it intends to have 40% of its U.S. sales come from electric vehicles by 2030, it hasn't exactly clarified what it means by electric vehicles. They're rolling out several plug-in hybrids now, but the company does say it will offer fully electric SUVs by 2025. Here's a salute to our Talking Birds ambassadors, the great listeners who help us spread the word about our show and about birds and conservation. And thank you to John B. from Layton, Utah. It's about halfway between Ogden and Salt Lake City in Utah. Thank you so much, John. And thank you to Robert Parrott. That's how he pronounces it, from Troy, Idaho. Thank you so much, Robert. And thanks for your kind comments, too. How to join Robert and John as a Talking Birds ambassador? Well, it's very easy, and becoming one means we'll send you a batch of our little info cards, which you can hand out at your convenience to friends and fellow birders and nature lovers, thereby helping us to spread the word about birds and conservation. So to do it, just click on the Get Involved tab at talkingbirds.com. That's the Get Involved tab right at the top of the homepage there at talkingbirds.com.
There's no G in talking.
And still to come on our show today, we'll learn about ornitherapy from the co-author of a remarkable new book on the topic. We'll also catch up with Mike O'Connor in an almost live Let's Ask Mike segment, the subject of which will be bird tales. And up next, we'll meet a deep-diving bird that some call the whistler. It's our featured feathered friend, presented by Birdwatching Magazine. For more than a quarter century, Birdwatching has been North America's premier magazine about wild birds and birding. To help introduce our featured feathered friend, here's newly inducted Rock and Roll Hall of Fame member, Tina Turner.
See reflections on the water, more than darkness in the depths. See him surface in every shadow. On the wind I feel his breath. Golden eye, I found his weakness.
Yes, golden eye. In this case, the diving duck, known as the common golden eye, does have a weakness for crustaceans. It can't seem to get enough of those shrimp and crabs and barnacles, too, as it folds its wings tight to its body and kicks all the way down to the bottom of bays and lakes and rivers for those life-sustaining morsels. Common goldeneyes are chunky, big-headed ducks. Males have an iridescent dark greenish-black head with a round white cheek patch, a dark bill, and a dark back. Females have a chocolate brown head with slaty gray coloring on the back, wings, and tail. Both sexes have white chests and undersides and golden yellow eyes. On its breeding grounds way up in northern Canada, the goldeneye has a diet consisting mainly of aquatic insects. It tries to avoid being eaten itself by hawks, owls, and eagles while on the water, and by bears, weasels, and minks on land. Meanwhile, it tries to protect its nest and eggs from raccoons, red squirrels, and even woodpeckers like northern flickers. And then there are hunters to contend with. It's thought that the current rate of the killing of these birds by hunting is similar to what it was in the 70s, when some 188,000 common goldeneyes were gunned down. The common goldeneye is one of the last ducks to migrate south in the fall, and it will winter as far north as open water allows. Not surprisingly, thanks to the sound the bird's wings make in flight, it's often called the whistler. Its species scientific name, Clangula, comes from a Greek word meaning scream. It's Bucephala clingula, the common goldeneye, today's Talkin' Birds featured feathered friend. Welcome back to our show, number 857. Well, actually, we didn't go away anywhere, so just welcome again to our show. Holly Merker is the co-author of the new book, Ornitherapy, for your mind, body, and soul. And she's about to join us here to tell us about ornitherapy and the book. Good morning, Holly.
Good morning, Ray. Thank you so much for having me today.
My pleasure indeed. It's great to have you. And I guess we can figure out ornitherapy, what that kind of, how those words mash together, but maybe you can give us a definition.
Sure. Well, how we define it in our book is the mindful observation of birds benefiting our minds, bodies, and souls. So ornitherapy really could be whatever you want it to be. But in this book, we provide guidance towards the definition I just shared.
Okay, and you have a whole kind of a schematic here of how that works. And you do have a how to use this book at the beginning and written to be used, you say, right outside your own window or door. This book can be portable or for stationary observation. Tell us more about what that means.
Yeah, absolutely. So a lot of the content of this book was written during the pandemic when a lot of us were forced to stay within a very defined space, whether that be inside our homes or perhaps right outside in our own gardens or yards or neighborhoods. And so I wanted people to have the opportunity not to feel like they had to travel to seek out birds, because really birds were right there for us all along. And making these connections, particularly during the pandemic when most of us couldn't have friends over or even our family to enjoy holidays, we could invite the birds into our worlds and lives, and they provided us so much comfort. And even without binoculars, I wanted people to have a new way of looking at and connecting with the birds who are really part of our ecosystem and the world we live in, but also are much like our friends.
It is kind of a way of slowing down and looking at birds, isn't it?
Absolutely. So when we really start to pay attention and to become more mindful in our approach to bird watching, and that really is just going out with some intention to pay attention to birds in a little bit more focused way, and without judging that experience and prioritizing the quality of our experiences with birds without focusing so much on the quantity of how many birds did I see in a single outing. And really sparking a lot of curiosity, really thinking about the birds, making these connections, and living in the moment with the birds, because birds, they too live in the moment.
You kind of have three parts to the book, is one way of describing it, I think. Explorations and meditations and journaling. So in your explorations, one of the topics is color in nature. And then you kind of bridge that to exploring ornitherapy. Tell us how that structure works.
Yeah, so throughout the book, I have 58 explorations, which invite the reader to go on sort of a journey exploring birds from a little different or closer view. And in this case, when I'm asking or inviting the reader to explore color, I ask them to think about how many colors they might see in a single bird that they observe, and challenge them to match colors of the rainbow with a single bird that they might see, which sometimes can be tricky. But if we start really looking, and we can find patterns of color, we can find colors that perhaps we never noticed before.
By the way, another part there of explorations is cortisol in nature. You cite a University of Michigan study about actual measurable health benefits of connecting with nature.
Yeah, so there's a lot of science that is emerging right now and studies that show that connecting to the natural world provide us immeasurable benefits to our overall well-being, whether that be our physical health, which cortisol is directly attributed to, but also our mental health, our mental overall well-being. Again, a relationship with cortisol. So cortisol itself is a stress hormone that kicks into overdrive when we are feeling anxious or when there are a lot of pressures in our lives. And when this happens, it affects our immune system and our body's ability to fight disease and infection, but also it sort of controls our overall feelings of anxiety or depression. When we use nature or when we experience the outdoor world, studies are showing that our cortisol levels actually decrease to levels that allow us to feel a sense of more calm and soothing. So really, in other parts of the globe, prescriptions of going outdoors and connecting to the natural world and using birds as that gateway are being prescribed by doctors, physicians in other parts of the globe right now. Mm-hmm. And it's because we know that some of these effects mitigate stress and anxiety and actually promote overall well-being.
Mm-hmm. Well, Holly, there's a very personal part to your book, and it relates to medicine, as you just mentioned, and it's headlined, How Birds Saved My Life, and that's quite literally meant. I wonder if you'd read that for us.
Absolutely. So, in the book, I write, birds are medicine for the mind, body, and soul. Here is a photo of me birding in the White Mountains of New Hampshire, halfway through a 6-month rigorous course of chemotherapy for breast cancer. Baldness hidden by a wig, I'm wearing a beaming smile because being in nature and watching birds was what nourished my spirit and gave me strength and courage to summit a different kind of mountain. Connecting to birds and nature was a frontline weapon in my battle, and for me, it was as powerful as the conventional treatments enlisted to restore my health. Birding brought me peace, mental recharging, and restoration of energy in ways I cannot describe. As all-consuming a cancer diagnosis can be, I didn't allow this game changer to steal me from my love of birds and birding. Birding while undergoing treatment set me on a path towards healing and recovery, and a metamorphosis of my new normal. The respite Ornitherapy provides from the chronic grip of crisis can be likened to opening a door into a temporary world of peace. My focus while birding shifted from my own survival to the survival of birds and the pressures they face. I lost my hair from chemo on Mother's Day Eve. The next morning, I went out to search for birds and process this loss. I remember being completely in the moment of observation when I serendipitously found the nest of a cerulean warbler, a species rare in my area. The experience of watching another young family in survival mode put a lot into perspective for me as I worked through my own will to live. Mm-hmm. To bring birds closer at a time when I couldn't easily move around, I saved all the hair I lost from the effects of chemo and placed it in a suet cage to offer as nesting material for the birds to gather that spring. The satisfaction of watching a tufted titmouse pull strands of my wasted hair and carry it away made the loss purposeful and emphasized that simple things can be so powerful. During the tough times in life, we all need to find what fills us up and helps us recharge. We can find then fortitude and peace amidst the storm. Birds are my go-to therapy and medicine. I hope they will be yours too.
Holly Merker is the co-author of Ornitherapy for Your Mind, Body, and Soul, and also part of the Ornitherapy Outreach Program. We don't have time really to talk about that right now, but we can refer folks to your website. That's ornitherapy.com for these wonderful programs that you do. Ornitherapy.com is the website. Holly, thank you so much. Congratulations on the book, and thanks for sharing those wonderful insights.
Thank you so much, Ray. I appreciate it.
Coming up next here, it's our Mystery Bird contest in just 1 minute. The flutter of a tail feather, the flash of a wing bar in mid-flight. You don't always have a lot of time to identify a bird in nature, let alone to appreciate its beauty. But with Vortex Optics, you'll have the power to bring every wild moment closer. When you choose Vortex, you're choosing to have a partner in the field as passionate about nature as you are. Whether you're spotting old friends on the backyard feeder or packing for a once-in-a-lifetime trip to add a few species to your life list, Vortex offers a full range of optics and optics accessories for every birder and every budget. And whether the birds are taking you to another state or another country, you're always covered by the Vortex VIP warranty, an unlimited lifetime promise to keep you and your optic covered. If you'd like to learn more, or if you need help choosing your next optic, give Vortex a call at 1-800-4VORTEX or visit vortexoptics.com. That's our mystery bird. That's the sound of it right there. A medium-sized sparrow-like bird. The male, breeding male, sports a black face and chest and a rust-colored nape, pretty distinctive. Part of its common name comes from its unusually long hind claw. A couple of big clues there about our mystery bird. Beautiful prizes await from Droll Yankees and Beauty-O Books. And remember, you don't necessarily have to get the right answer because the drawing will determine our winner if nobody quite latches onto it. So give it a try at this number at 781-837-4900. That's 781-837-4900. As always, we urge you to call as soon as you can, so we'll have time for our little contest here. 781-837-4900. And the reminder, too, that if you're not hearing our show live, you can do so very easily and enter our contest. Just go to talkingbirds.com to see how to do it. Our live broadcast, by the way, is on Sunday mornings from 9:30 to 10 Eastern. Up next, a visit with Mike O'Connor. Let's ask Mike in just 1 minute. Beauty-O Books carries one of the largest selections of birding books in the world. New, used, and rare books covering everything from backyard birding to general ornithology, from field guides to photography skills, biography, fiction, and humor. You'll find it all, along with the knowledgeable customer service you've been looking for in one convenient place. BeautyOBooks.com. B-U-T-E-O. BeautyOBooks.com.
My name is Fernando B. Carrata, and I'm calling from South Burlington, Vermont. I decided to become a Talking Birds ambassador because I was very interested in passing the knowledge from the show. I would like to encourage listeners of the Talking Bird Show to become ambassadors.
Talkin' Birds listeners, we hope you'll join our ambassadors family at talkingbirds.com. Join today, and thanks.
Well, this is pretty exciting. Mike O'Connor there at the Birdwatchers General Store. We have checked with his on his topic here, and he says it's about bird tails. And we love stories, so this ought to be just terrific. Good morning, Mike.
That's right. Gather around the fire, kids. We have some bird tails to discuss today.
I know I got the spelling wrong here. Debbie is here with us to correct me on that, but I still got it wrong. It's really T-A-I-L-S, right?
Yeah, it's a little different, right? Okay. Sometimes it's the technicality, but it is a difference going on there.
Yeah, small thing.
Bird tails.
Yeah, bird tails.
Sometimes you get birds. Birds, I guess most birds are famous for their tails. It's certainly part of their anatomy. And, certain times of year they might be missing. A lot of times it's due to molting, but this time of year, late in the year, you might see a bird without a tail. A customer had a picture of a mourning dove, and, it looked like a sweet potato because it was like the tail was totally missing. And people wonder if the birds are okay, will they be able to fly and survive without their tail? And the answer to that is certainly yes. The birds don't need their tail at all for flying. It really depends upon their wings. And usually this time of year, a lot of times they lose their tail from a predator attack. Something tries to grab them, maybe a fox or something, and the tail feathers come out rather easily. Like those lizards, when you grab the tail and the lizard goes running away, and you ended up with a hunk of tail that was the same thing. It's kind of a way for them to escape. Remember back when you were starting quarterback for the Rhode Island school broadcasting, and you had that tearaway jersey, so you'd always score the touchdown.
Oh, yeah, our team, the Fumblers. Yeah, you were awesome. Oh, yeah.
Well, it's the same thing. It helps them get away. But fortunately, the tails grow back fairly quickly. Depending on the health of the bird, it might be as short as 2 weeks where the tail comes back. If it's a good, healthy bird, it might take a little longer if they don't have enough nutrition. But the tail is important for birds, and depending on the species, Certainly hawks and larger birds use the tail for soaring, or they flare it out when they're trying to land. It's kind of like an air brake for them when they go to land. A lot of birds use it for balance. Songbirds, particularly when they land on a branch, they use their tail as kind of a counterbalance. They also use it for displaying. Some birds have a tail that really helps them attract the mate, but the rest of the time they're almost in the way. I think peacock comes to mind. I think a lot of times these birds would be better off without such elaborate tails.
The hummingbirds, too, with the crazy tails there.
Yeah. The hummingbirds' tails, they use those for, again, display. When they're angry or they're trying to attract a female, they flare it out. Like you'll see most time hummingbirds look like a blur, but then you slow it down and those tails flare out, and they've got a lot of red and white and colors on the edge that they flare out. And I think one of the birds that probably uses it the most for survival are the woodpeckers. The woodpeckers, they have their tails are stiffer, and they push them against the trunk of the tree so the birds can rear back. I'm actually demonstrating this right now. You probably can't see it.
Camera 3, get it close up on that.
Yeah. So they lean against the tree with their stiff tails so they can hammer into the tree. And so they would definitely need a tail to grow back. And then for mating, you get the Wilson snipe, right? They have that little funky edging on their tail, so when they flutter around.
That winnowing thing.
Correct, yeah. So tails are important, but they grow back unless there's some kind of damage. They'll grow back and they'll be fine. They're just a little funky for a few days, but other than that, they'll grow back.
All right, well, thank you for that info, Mike. Next time, Mike will tell us why birds never have their tails in front.
More research.
Thank you, Mike.
You got it.
Mike O'Connor down there at the famous Birdwatchers General Store, Orleans, Cape Cod. Meanwhile, we'll be back to the Mystery Bird Contest right after this.
Every Wednesday, Birdwatching Magazine sends an e-newsletter full of information of interest to birdwatchers, including recent news stories about birds, conservation, and science, photography tips, stories about places to go birding, bird ID tips, and much more. Best of all, the newsletter is free. Sign up today at birdwatchingdaily.com/newsletter.
And now we are back at the Mystery Bird Contest. There's the bird, 781-837-4900. There's the phone number. What is that mystery bird? Vern is somewhere in California. Good morning, Vern.
Good morning.
Good morning. Whereabouts in the Golden State, if you care to share?
We're in Oakhurst, which is in Central California, the western slope of the Sierras, just south of the Yosemite border.
Oh, south of Yosemite. Nice. All right. Well, Vern, you heard that mystery bird and those clues and all that, and you say is what?
Lapland longspur.
Boy, that is more than a top-quality guess. I believe that is correct. Lapland longspur. Absolutely right. What a cool-looking bird that is, certainly in breeding plumage. Vern, thank you so much. And if you will stay on the line, we will arrange to send those prizes out to you.
Thank you, Ray.
All right. Thank you, Vern, out there in California. Oakhurst, I think he said. And again, the mystery bird there, the Lapland longspur. Really hungry birds. The Cornell Lab of Ornithology says they eat an estimated 3,000 to 10,000 insects per day during summer and feed their nestlings per day an additional 3,000 insects. Kind of hard to even picture that, but that's what Cornell Lab says, so we believe it. Next week, we'll welcome a dedicated crusader against the use and abuse of rodenticides. Gary Menon will be here to tell us why he is so passionate about the subject and why it's so important that we all know about it. That's next week. Thanks to our amazing Talking Birds team, Debbie Bleacher, Freya McGregor, our special assistant, Audrey Stack, and our producing engineer, Jesse Wilkins. I'm Ray Brown. See you next week.
The bird show. I like that.
Ray Brown's Talking Birds.
Made possible by the generous support of the Birdwatchers General Store, Orleans, Cape Cod. Birdwatchersgeneralstore.com.
By Vortex Optics. With the VIP warranty, their unlimited lifetime promise to keep you and your optic covered. Learn more at vortexoptics.com.
And Beautyo Books, an independent family-owned bookstore carrying one of the largest selections of birding books in the world. Beautyobooks.com.